Hi, my name's Rachel, and today we're talking about the book talk sensation that is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. A hockey romance, kind of. And we all know that Book Talk had an interesting conversation about hockey books and how that bled into real life last year. I'm not talking about this, unfortunately not popular book in Book Talk as of yet. Also about a hockey romance, also called Icebreaker, which is a good book that I read years ago and gave 5 stars to. Instead, we are talking about this one, which is a massive bummer and massively popular. Despite being a sports romance, it actually has very little sports in it on page, despite it being nearly 500 pages. Did you hear me? I said 500 pages. The other Icebreaker had way more hockey in its pages, and it had less pages. Stop saying pages. We're doing a deep dive on this one today, and I'll explain why this is a massively overwritten flop, for me at least, that it had potential only to end up wasting. That, I believe, is why so many people who I know, who I'm friends with, have DNF'd it. But I can sum up for you as to why this didn't work in 3 words. Doing too much. We're trying to do 100 different things, including set up following books in this Maple Hills College series, and in doing too much, we sacrificed maintaining a good romance story. How would I recommend fixing it? I have ideas that I will share in this video, and most of them come from having taken a class from today's sponsor, which is Skillshare. Romance is not a genre that I dabble in as much as I dabble in fantasy, or at least fantasy is my more preferred genre. So I did need help understanding the writing process of romance before I was ready to give this in-depth of a review. And the class I used was Nina Harrington's Skillshare class, How to Outline Your Romance Novel Using Emotional Story Structure. Nina explains that your focus in romance is on the main characters, how they are going to change during the course of the story as a result of the relationship. I love how in step 1 she explains in the outlining process, you need to keep it simple and build from there, have a story idea that you can sum up in a few sentences. I think that's where Icebreaker went wrong again, that it's overly complicated outside of the 2 main characters, and then the 2 main characters themselves don't change throughout the story. Even the synopsis of the book doesn't happen until like 50% through, and it's not the main focus of the story. Nina also discusses the power of using story maps, how to merge the external plot with the character arcs to create a story that is cohesive, and using scene sequencing in writing. Those last 2 are something that I think that this book greatly could have benefited from. If you don't know, Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives. They have a wide variety of topics: cooking, illustration, graphic design, video editing, and writing. They have tons of writing classes, tons of authors. Some of my favorites like Saba Tahir is on there. Other authors like Kirsten White, Daniel Jose Older. Using these classes has really helped me understand story more and understand the creation process of story more, and helps me write better reviews. Skillshare is an online platform. It has stackable lessons so that members can learn at their own pace no matter what your current skill level is. Whether you want to finish the manuscript you've been working on for far too long, or you want to learn how to edit videos like I do here, or you want to use it like my husband is to learn how to cook gourmet food like a real chef, Skillshare has classes that can take you from beginner to pro alongside a supportive community that you can chat about your projects with. Turn your I want to do this into I made it happen. And you can do that with Skillshare by clicking the link below. And the first 500 people to click that link below in my description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So whatever your hobby is, or your side hustle is, or your favorite secret artistic talent that you're looking to hone your craft on, you can get started today. Just click that link below. And thank you again to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. So Icebreaker is, again, one of many popular TikTok romances. There's like even subgenres of this like dark hockey romance. Check out Natalie's video on the Pucking Wrong Number if you would like to watch one. It's such a good video. I do have a video on the other Icebreaker book. I would like to redo it because it's old, and thinking about my old content now makes me die a little inside. But the other Icebreaker book was so lovely, so well done. I thought the mental health rep was so important in there. The daddy issues was just perfect. And I actually enjoyed the hockey scenes, which is rare for me because I don't really care about hockey, despite the fact that growing up, my dad worked in television and I used to go to a lot of Lightning hockey games. Did you know that Florida, of all places, is a very popular hockey team? Anyways, this is a very popular TikTok romance, a hockey romance. This one is set at a college, and the main characters are Anastasia, an ice skater who is in paired skating, as in like with a partner who has dreams of going to the Olympics, and Nate, a hockey player who has dreams of winning the Stanley Cup. The synopsis says Nate's focus as team captain is on keeping his team on the ice, which is tricky when a facilities mishap means they are forced to share a rink with the figure skating team, including Anastasia, who clearly can't stand him, but when Anastasia's skating partner faces an uncertain future, she may have to look to Nate to take her shot. That does not actually depict, I feel, in an accurate way what this book is about. What this book is about, in quite a chunk of its almost 500 pages, is, well, as the book puts it, playing house. That last part about how Nate has to step in to be Anastasia's, practice partner is nearly 50% through the book and is not really a big deal to the story. What is a big deal to the story? Playing house, just repeating that, and also the very repetitive scenes. And the massive amount of side characters, most of which are Nate's fellow hockey players. My biggest gripe, again, is this is doing too much. I'm about to do like a full review, but this is basically like me summarizing what my issues with this book were. My biggest gripe is that this is just doing too much. We're trying to do girl with big dreams of being a champion figure skater, except she forgets about this most of the time, and boy who wants to win this Stanley Cup someday, although he forgets about this most of the time, and he barely plays hockey in this book. He's benched for most of it, and we're doing a she finds found family in his hockey team, and we're spending a ton of time trying to get the audience to fall in love with certain other guys on the hockey team so that they can be the main characters in the follow-up books, which is something that I can't stand that romance books are doing these days. But it's trying to get you to buy the follow-up books, but you have to make me fall in love with this couple, with your writing, with your ability to tell a story before I'm willing to move on with you. It's not just about loving your characters, it's what you do with them. Anyway, we're also doing repeat sex scenes. We're trying to normalize therapy, which great, I love, but we're not using what we learn in therapy to point out Nate's red flags. And instead, we're making a side villain out of Aaron, her paired skating partner, who has red flags galore that Anastasia didn't notice until Nate showed up. Nate, again, who also has abundant red flags, and in fact does a lot of the same stuff as Aaron, but he gets away with it, which is something that I complained about immensely in Fourth Wing. Don't have double standards for why the hero guy can do stuff, but the other guy can't. But Nate and Anastasia stay mostly exactly the same throughout this entire book. There's really no conflict of their relationship, and there should be, at least initially, because she gives up more and more and more of her autonomy despite being a control-oriented woman. But she never thinks about how much control she's giving Nate. It's really messy and it's really overwritten, so let me tell you all about it. Okay, I'm back in my corpse hoodie to finish this on a different day because this is going to take me forever and I had to plan out time for doing this. In fact, I would have done this sooner, but super fun. My insurance company is claiming that my son's neurology is not covered, and I just spent an hour crying before putting on my makeup because they're telling me that I have to pay an $800 bill when the insurance company is the one who referred me to this place and is now claiming they never had such a referral. Anyways, now that I've complained to everybody on the internet about my problems, let me tell you about these people's problems. Chapter 1 is Anastasia. We are in her POV. She is practicing with her coach, Brady, last name Brady, who is a former Olympian, or was going to be an Olympian, but then she ended up getting pregnant and now she coaches.
No, you're not like the other girls, Jennifer. Winners make sacrifices.
And Anastasia is a paired skater, as I said before, and her partner is Aaron Carlisle, who she just partnered with when she went to college. Previously, her former partner when she was in high school was also her boyfriend. He went to a different college. So then she ended up paired with Aaron because Aaron had the same problem. His partner went off to a different college. Aaron Carlisle is the best male figure skater in the University of California, Maple Hills. When I was offered a spot at UCMH, my skating partner was, and Aaron was luckily in the same position. We became pairs. This is our third year of skating together and our third year of getting our asses kicked, as in by Brady, their coach. Now, she and Aaron have no feelings for each other, unlike Brady and her former partner, Wyatt, because apparently Brady and Wyatt were the ones who fathered Brady's child. I don't know why this is important, other than later Aaron, who is going to be villainized, but mostly off page, is going to throw it in her face and be like, Anastasia just wants to get knocked up, and I don't know where that came from, which is half the problem I had with this book is why is Aaron throwing all these accusations at Anastasia? She's having trouble landing her lutes. I forget if that's how it's pronounced. There's a city in Florida called Lutz. If that's not how you say it, I'm sorry. And already off the bat, it sort of talks about how Aaron has trouble with lifting Anastasia. Like most things in life, skating is far easier when you're a man because nobody is picking you up and launching you across the room twice a day. Freshman year, I gained the freshman 15. Well, it was more like the freshman 5, but Aaron said I was getting too heavy to lift, so I haven't put on an ounce since. What he says in private is the only way I'm going to pull it off is if I start doping and build a time machine to get my pre-puberty flirty body back, as in landing her loots.
I don't know what's wrong. I'm popping my lutz. It's all that cheese.
I try to stick to my meal plan religiously with the odd party here and there to keep me lucid.
Salad for me? Coming up. Just iceberg lettuce, half a cup of garbanzos, and a lemon wedge. Oh, and a quarter cup of cheese.
First chapter, again, we're learning about their dynamic as well as who Anastasia is as a person. He asks her, what does your planner say you're going to do tonight? Sort of teasing her, and she says, getting laid. Ew, he says. It's bad enough you plan what time you sleep and eat, but do you need to plan having sex? He's not lying about the sleeping and eating thing. Every minute of my life is meticulously scheduled in my trusty planner. Now, meticulously scheduled by whom? Herself. Now, for some reason, as soon as the love interest comes in on the page, this sort of gets upended, and she never is like, hey, I had everything meticulously planned and now you are planning things for me and I don't like it. Anyway, who is she sleeping with? A guy named Ryan, who she's just friends with benefits with. He's a nice guy. He's not going to stick around long. He's basically just there for Nate to be jealous of. Ryan is a busy guy and I'm a busy girl. I want to see him as much as I can before basketball season. Ryan Rothwell, she says to herself, is 6'6". 6'6"? Isn't it 6'6"? Is it 6'6" or 6'6"? Is it both? Genuine question. 6'6" of pure athletic perfection. I can't believe you're still fucking around with him. He's like double your size. How does he not crush you? Wait, no, I don't want to know. Now this seems playful between her and Aaron, but again, now reading it back after knowing that Aaron is a bad guy, I don't really know how to read it. But nothing in Anastasia's POV is letting us know that Aaron is a shitty person. Her other best friend, who she lives with, along with Aaron, the three of them live together, is Lola. Living with Aaron and Lola is like living with siblings who always wanted to be only children. Aaron, like me, is an actual only child. The miracle baby, his two aging Midwestern parents desperate to keep their marriage together. Aaron's parents are rich. They buy him stuff as, I'm sorry gifts, and one of the things that were a gift was the home that the three of them live in. It was a forgive me present from his dad, who cheats a lot. It was either after his affair with his secretary or before he started to have sex with the interior designer. Maple Tower is a beautiful condo block on the edge of campus, and our place has a great view and tons of lighting. Anyway, so her friends with benefits, Ryan, the basketball player, comes over. Ryan's body would make, don't throw up on my bed. Don't throw up on my bed. No, 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 no. My cat just threw up on my bed. Even she hates this book. Damn it, Artemis. That's my bed. My bed? My bed, Artemis? Great. Now I'm gonna have to wash the sheets, just like Ryan and Anastasia are about to. Ryan's body would make a Greek god weep. Tan skin from his summer home in Miami, a torso with more abs than I can count. Forget a Greek god, it makes me want to weep. Anyway, so her and Ryan hook up, good for them. I will say that this is like sex positive, and I appreciate that at least it's not virgin girl meets man who needs to teach her how to have sex, which dips a little bit often into purity culture stuff. Not always, but often. Like, it's fine to want that for yourself. I'm just saying that the way it's written is often reeking of purity culture. Like, for instance, After by Anna Todd is a really good example of such a book. Unfortunately, this book has a lot in common with After by Anna Todd. I do have a full review on that if you want to watch it. Chapter 2 is in Nathan's POV. There's a hand near my dick that isn't mine. And I hated this first chapter with Nate because it just sort of did girl shaming immediately, which this book does, I feel, an awful lot of. Like, Anastasia is, a strong woman main character, but she only has one girlfriend who she barely spends any time with, and most of the other girls get absolutely shat on, like in this first chapter with Nate. Kitty Vincent is everything wrong with rich girls with daddy's credit card, a subspecies of women at UCMH I happen to be an expert on, expertise I've gained from having sex with practically all of them except for this one. I was never supposed to do it with this one. She's just an absolutely terrible human being. Now, did we really need to write the words subspecies of women? I don't believe so. And of course, she makes him buy her the most expensive Uber to get home. He talks to his best friend, Robbie, who is not on the hockey team with him. Robbie is in a wheelchair. Most of his friends / hockey players do live with him though, such as JJ. I mean, we get introduced with just a shit ton of men, whereas he has tons of dude friends and shits on a woman in the beginning of his first chapter. We just have the one friend for Anastasia, who's a woman. JJ's an only child from middle of nowhere, Nebraska. Robbie had a major skiing accident in our junior year of high school. He's in a group chat called Puck Bunnies. Another guy, there's a Robbie and a Bobby, which is, oh my God. And Bobby says in their group chat, In the words of Michael Scott, I am ready to get hurt again, which I only highlighted not to tell you about what was going on in the group chat, just to let you know that in case you were wondering if this has a bunch of references that are like very millennial, it does. I would know because in real life I make those references. Cringe recognizes cringe. They get called to go to a meeting with their coach, Neil Hawkins. Not a man you want to get on the wrong side of. Three-time Stanley Cup winner, before a drunk driver knocked him off the road, shattering his arms and right leg, ending his NHL career. He's like, when I arrived here, I found the rink destroyed. The director's furious, the dean's furious, I'm fucking furious. I thought we'd drawn a line on this prank bullshit. You're supposed to be men, not kids. Hope none of you want to make your hockey into your career because we're holding a meeting with every student athlete in 5 minutes. Now, I don't know what the fuck the basketball team would have to do with the skating rink. I mean, literally just as much as like any other student, but all right. Next chapter, Anastasia's there and she is sitting at this meeting with all the student athletes. She's sitting with Ryan, her friends with benefits, and his teammate, who make my respectable 5'4" body look like one of an overgrown toddler. I don't like that line.
Her fans call her the jumping shrimp.
She's offered a cookie by them, and this is going to happen a lot where she's offered food and she's like, I can't gain weight right now, otherwise Aaron can't lift me. And Ryan, her friends with benefits, said, as someone who throws you around quite a lot, I feel like I'm qualified to say this. If that jackass isn't able to cope if your weight fluctuates a few pounds, which is perfectly normal, by the way, he shouldn't be your partner.
Jen! Ryan, she's training. You know the rules.
I just brought her burger, Mrs. H.
And she says, we're not having this conversation again, Ryan.
I'm sorry. I just slapped that clip in here and realizing his name is Brian and the basketball team guy is Ryan, and how well these quotes are fitting into this video, which was just supposed to be a joke. Is this Ice Princess fanfic? Is that how this started? Did this evolve from writing Ice Princess fanfic? Because it really is. The more clips I put in here, the more it's starting to feel that way. What have I just realized? Anyway, okay, bye.
So I just don't really understand why it is that Ryan says it and everybody else is like, hey, that's kind of weird that, you know, Aaron says he can't lift you. But then as soon as Nate says it, that's when we start on the progression towards her being like, you know what, that is a red flag. So they're all in trouble because somebody destroyed the rink. They're saying there's going to be a zero tolerance approach from now on. Fall in line or you'll be benched. Everybody gets dismissed except skating and hockey, which makes sense because they're the only ones that use the rink. And they're told, hey, you only are going to have the one rink now in order to practice. So you guys are going to have to split your time up. An investigation is underway into how the extensive damage was caused, but I'm told there will be significant delays when it comes to repairs due to a shortage of parts for our particular equipment. And she's like, oh, I hate the spoiled rich boy to hockey team pipeline. And I'm like, oh, but you don't hate the spoiled rich boy to your partner pipeline? You're fine with Aaron being rich and on the ice, but not hockey players? This is where she runs into Nate. I didn't even highlight their meet cute because I guess it wasn't all that cute. But Tiss, he's like, I know you're feeling stressed, but you could come to our party tonight if you want to. And she's like, who the fuck are you? He says, I'm Nate Hawkins. I'm captain of the hockey team.
Casey, Kyle. Kyle plays hockey. Casey skates.
Hey.
You guys have a lot in common.
Come over, bring friends, or whatever. It'd be good if we could all get along. I swear we have good tequila. Do you have a name? I refuse to be charmed by a pretty face, not even one with little dimples and nice cheekbones. This is still a disaster. And she says, do you meet a lot of people who don't have names? And I thought that was actually kind of clever. Anyway, she's like, I do not have any interest in speaking to you. And honestly, I like this book more when she just absolutely fucking hated him. Chapter 4 is in Nate's POV. This is where we start to learn that Nate actually suffers from migraines. I wish this had come up more, but I appreciate that it's on page at all. As a chronic migraine sufferer for basically my entire life, it's really nice to see it on page. And I've never seen a book that has chronic migraine rep from a man before. So I think that that's great. I really appreciate that. He's talking to his teammate. Again, he's team captain and he's talking to a teammate named Russ, who I believe is the main character in a follow-up book. The follow-up book to this one right after, is it called Wildfire? I think so. He's like, hey, I need to work out why we're in this mess. I feel like you had something to do with this. If you don't tell me, I can't help you. And Russ is like, listen, it wasn't a prank. It's just there's this girl at UCLA. I met her at a party. We started screwing around. I thought she was single, but she has a boyfriend. I blocked her on everything as soon as I found out she has a boyfriend. So maybe this has something to do with that. I feel like we could have had like something a little bigger. I think that Aaron should have been involved in destroying the rink. Anyway, apparently they have a zero tolerance policy for cheating or something. And he's like, don't tell anybody or you're going to get kicked off the team. Or I guess it's like if you do something that causes someone else to be mad at you and destroy the rink, you get kicked off the team. I don't know. Anyway, they throw a party. Anastasia shows up. He talks to her. He's like trying to charm her. She says, I'm immune to hockey player charm, and a drink isn't going to charm me into not being mad about the rink. She asks him though, what are you studying? He says he's studying sports medicine. She's studying business. They're in his room. She says, where are you from? He says, I'm from Eagle County, Colorado. And in his POV, like she's kind of mean to him, and it says it's like being verbally abused by Tinkerbell. Anyway, they leave his room. They're going downstairs. She only went up to his room because she needed to pee and didn't want to wait in line, which happens at least twice. When they're going down the stairs, he notices that Aaron's there, standing there staring at me like all hell is about to break loose. It switches to chapter 5, which is Anastasia's POV. Your boyfriend looks like he wants to murder me. Well, that's odd. I don't have a boyfriend. But Aaron does look like he's going to murder someone. What were you doing upstairs with him? I was peeing. Is that a sufficient answer? She thinks about Aaron's behavior real quick and thinks about how she's been told that if Aaron couldn't lift me, he needs to work harder in the gym, and then goes back to arguing with him. Thought you were collecting team captains like Pokemon. Where's Rothwell? He's normally the one draped all over you. So it seems like as soon as Nate enters the scene, Aaron gets dick eater, which is weird because if it was jealousy, which it's not, Anastasia's already been sleeping with Ryan and it didn't seem to be a problem. But as soon as Nate enters the scene, Aaron's more of a dick. Aaron is vilified further, which is weird. Nate says if you're going to be a dick, you need to leave. People are trying to have a good night. Aaron is built like a ballet dancer, strong too, but lean. Plus, he has never been in a fight with his cushy, privileged life, which is why it's so surprising to me that he starts shit with people who have. He's like, well, I suppose I'm upset now that I know why the rink was trashed. One of your rookies couldn't keep it in his pants, knocked up someone's little sister, and ghosted her. How bad is that, Stas? Oh yeah, they call her Stas or Stasi. Her name is Anastasia, not Anastasia, but they call her Stas or Stasi. Is that a thing? I don't know. How bad is that, Stas? Ghosting the freshman you knocked up and now we're suffering? And Nate's like, that's not what happened. Talking about how Russ ended it with a girl he didn't know was dating somebody. And then all of a sudden, Anastasia says, he's a different guy in a matter of minutes. It's like being friends with Jekyll and Hyde sometimes. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? Why do you still live with him then? And can you give me some examples? Because it seems like there were no examples until suddenly Nate came on the scene. Anyway, they all go their separate ways, and she runs into Ryan, who is hanging out with this girl, Olivia. And Ryan and Olivia, Ryan being her friends with benefits, seem to be getting along really well. And she explains if he wanted to date somebody, that's great. I don't want to date him. I just want to, be friends with benefits. He deserves to be loved. He deserves to be happy. He's such an amazing guy. He would be Olivia's greatest supporter. So I assume that maybe we'll get some stuff in the future with Ryan and Olivia, but I just do not care. Chapter 6 is in Nathan's POV. Aaron wasn't fully lying. The girl is pregnant, but it has nothing to do with Russ. So it has to do with off page, some girl got knocked up and people got upset and came and destroyed one of Maple Hill's rinks. And I'm like, why didn't we make this relevant to the actual main players of this book? But Aaron Carlisle, God, even his name sounds dickish, ran his mouth off to anyone who would listen. Is it a cliche being a guy who grew up with immense privilege and also has daddy issues? Yes, but in my defense, my dad is a massive jackass. I'm pretty sure he didn't get hugged enough as a child, and he's making it mine and my sister's problem. So we get into the fact that Nate has daddy issues. He doesn't like hockey. He only likes skiing. He owns a ski resort, and his sister does skiing. So his dad is more doing stuff with his sister, but his dad's kind of a piece of shit. But then again, he's always ignoring his dad's phone calls. And now Robbie, his best friend, the one who had the accident years ago, which is relevant to, I'll just tell you, it happened on Nate's dad's ski resort that Robbie got in an accident, and his dad didn't want to pay out the family or something. And this is part of why there's such a big rift between Nate and his dad. So Robbie, Nate's best friend, long-term best friend, and Lola, Anastasia's best friend, are starting to hit it off and become an item. So he has an easy way to sort of get in touch with Anastasia, who he's now very interested in, despite the fact that he shits on most girls for, being too, I don't know, I guess he wants a poor girl because he's rich and only rich guys can be nice, but rich girls are annoying. Anyway, he goes to talk to Anastasia. What do you want? I need a favor. No. You haven't even heard what it is yet. Don't need to. The answer is no. He's like, listen, I want you to bring Lola to this party. If you go, she'll go. It's Vegas themed, it's black tie. Come on, just bring Lola so Robbie can hang out with her. We then get introduced to Henry, who apparently is the main character in another series of these books. Henry, I think, is written to, I mean, he reminds me a little bit of someone in my husband's family who's a guy who's autistic, and like a little bit of my son, but my son is 8 years old. He's not a grown man, or at least college age. Anyway, Henry is like everybody's favorite, I guess. He's super blunt. He's super like matter of fact. Nate is like, are you trying to date Anastasia? To Henry, and Henry's like, I'm not trying to date her. I'm trying to be nice to her so she likes us again. She's got a boyfriend anyway. Ryan Rothwell, I saw them hugging last week. Henry like comes up over and over and over where it's like Anastasia's like, I want to platonically marry him. But then I kind of felt like he was, I don't know, sort of treated like a child by them. And I get that like Nate feels kind of paternal because he's the captain of the hockey team. But the way they talked about Henry in particular, I was like, oh, I don't know if that's really cool, because people tend to like treat autistic people as children when they, unless they actually are a child, don't need to be treated like a child. He runs into Erin, her skating partner, and Erin tells him, she's not going to fuck you. You're wasting your time. You might think she's playing hard to get, but she's not. The iciest thing about her is her heart. She'll drag you along like she does Rothwell, so save yourself the trouble. And Nate says to Erin, you're a dick. If you talk about her like that, again, you're going to be picking up your teeth. And Erin says, I'm going to enjoy watching her turn you into a simpering fool just to drop you like she does everyone else happy skating. I literally don't know why Erin is like this. And I read this 500-page book and I still don't understand. The coaches, the Coach Brady and the coach for the hockey team, decide that the two teams are going to do speed dating, like an icebreaker, to try to, you know, like bond between them, since now they're sharing a rink. They barely run into each other, so I don't really know why it is that they need to do this, but okay. Anastasia is mad at Nate because she believes what Erin said, that one of the teammates, Russ, got somebody else pregnant, and that's why the rink got destroyed and that Nate was covering for them, which is not what happened. I don't know why she believes Erin when Nate has never been shown to be a liar. She just hates rich hockey players. She literally said that Erin is like being friends with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So I don't know. So she talks to a bunch of the hockey players. They're super nice to her, including Henry. He says, this is unnecessary, isn't it? Why do I need to know what someone's childhood pet is called or what their birthday is? The only person who cares about that information is a hacker, and I don't even like computers. And she's like, why don't you just sleep for the 5 minutes and hang out, and then you can move on to the next person. And the last person she does the icebreaker speed dating with is Nate Hawkins. Wait, I don't even know if there are any other girl ice skaters here. I legitimately, I'm just realizing that now. Who else are they doing this icebreaker with? Who else is there? I'm so confused. Anyway, Nate Hawkins is the last person she does the icebreaker with. She says she's been dreading it. He says, hi, I'm Nate Hawkins. We're starting over. Everyone loves a fresh start, right? Let's have one. You can't stay mad forever. She says, I was actually planning to stay mad longer than forever. He says, I already know you're a figure skater, you're studying a business, and you're from Seattle. I found out you can be terrifying, but you can also be sweet. To Henry, not to me. And she's like, well, Henry's been nice to me. He says, well, I want to be nice to you. I'm sorry I lied to you about Russ, which he barely lied. I don't even, like, he didn't want to give out teammates' information. What? How is that her business? Why is she entitled to that? I had to put Russ first. I want to be your friend, Anastasia. I know, I get it. You don't know me, can't trust me or whatever, and that's fine. I understand that, but I tried to share how I was feeling so you could see my side, and you completely brushed it off as an overreaction. Oh yeah, he did kind of do that. But I mean, this is kind of an overreaction to him saying that, you know, you need to chill. Well, anyway, she says to him, all right, fine. We can, you know, try to work on being friends. You're on probation. Chapter 8 is in Nathan's POV. They're at a party at the hockey house once again. Looking at her makes me want to be the funniest guy in the room so I could be the one to make her laugh, but I'm going to have to settle for her not scowling at me for now. He gives her his tuxedo jacket because she's cold. She's still kind of snarky towards him, and he's like, this is your version of nice? You fucking suck at it. She said, I said you were on probation, not me. He says, I'm going to teach you how to be nice. And she says, I'm sure there are plenty of things you can teach me, Nathan, but being nice isn't one of them. I'm a delight. And he says, what kind of things would you like me to teach you? Stop. And she says, how about we start with poker? Anyway, she's not a rookie at poker. She's actually good at it, and she kicks his ass. Once again, she uses the bathroom in his room because the line will be long because it's a party, which literally never happened to me at any of the house. I didn't go to a ton, but any of the house parties I went to, the bathroom was already open. How big are these fucking parties? Is this a real thing? I didn't go to college. Maybe that's a college thing. So he takes her up to his room to go pee. He makes her laugh. She laughs, and my God, that noise. I've never enjoyed making someone laugh as much as I do with her. It's because she makes me work for every laugh and smile. The competitive side of me buzzes when I manage it. Are you ever going to forgive me? I told you, you're on probation. That isn't a yes. Do I need to get on my knees and beg you, Anastasia? Is that what you want? Whoa, why did you just escalate so quickly? The only time I ever want to see a grown man on his knees in front of me, Nate, is when his face is between my legs. So no, I don't want you to beg me. Whoa! Why are you guys escalating? I can't help but smirk because I've just realized the attraction might not be as one-sided as I thought it was. You don't hate me like you pretend you do you? If you want me on my knees, Anastasia, we can make that happen. She says, I'm not pretending. He says, yes, you are. Ask me nicely. Let me show you how much I like it when you're nice. Why would I do that when I don't like you? You don't have to like me to scream my name, Anastasia. Calm down. I could give you a map to my spot and you still wouldn't be able to get me off Hawkins. He says, I don't need a map. You do. Let's test that theory, shall we? And then she starts making out with him. Like, she initiates it. He's hot as fuck. Have I said that before? No, it was implied. All dark hair, dark eyes, and muscles upon muscles upon muscles. Perfect. He asks, are you sure? Which, good, I'm glad we're doing that. And she says, do you have a pen and paper for me to draw you a map? Which is actually funny. But he responds in a way that I actually also think is good. I don't joke about consent, Anastasia. And she says, I'm sure. His huge hands, of course, sink into my squeezing at the same time. He sucks my into his mouth in a way that makes me feel like I'm floating. Floating? That's a new one for me. His fingers slide into me, finding my in 2.5 seconds. It's game over. Highly unlikely, but okay. Removing his fingers and mouth, he leans back so he can look at me properly, wearing the smuggest expression I've ever seen as he sucks his fingers into his mouth, not once breaking eye contact. And then after she literally books it out of there. It's been days since the party, and every day I learned something new about myself. The first thing I learned was that I'm good at running in heels. I found out when I sprinted from Nate's room. Well, that makes one of us. I can't run either way, and I definitely can't do it in heels. Ryan and I didn't even hook up last night. We watched a movie and fell asleep. We agreed the benefits aspect of our friendship was over now that he's looking to ask Olivia to be exclusive with him. I don't feel sad about it. I always knew it was coming to an end. I'm happy I managed to gain a best friend out of what's been an amazing situation. And I think that's fine. I just hate that later, like, Nate is jealous of Ryan instead of just being like, I also was sleeping with other people until Anastasia, but Anastasia does it. And suddenly it's a problem for me. I'm so jealous. I just don't like jealousy. I just don't think it's sexy. I think it's controlling. And if we're like complaining about Aaron being controlling, then why aren't we complaining about Nate being controlling? It's the Rhys-Ann Tamlin situation all over again. Why is it hot when he does it, but not when he does it? Anyway, Nate sent over gifts with Robbie, maybe? I don't know. Lola brings a phone in and Nate is on FaceTime and she is laying in bed with Ryan, her former friend with benefits, now just friend, and Nate has sent her a gift and she opens it and it's a jersey. And it's a hockey jersey, but it says her name on the back. And it's kind of awkward. And so they get off FaceTime and Lola is like, what the fuck is going on? It was an accident, a moment of weakness, and I've been avoiding him. I'm interested to know how people accidentally have oral share with the group. He said, ask me nicely, and was all like, I don't joke about consent, Anastasia, and super sexy and brooding. And Ryan tells her, Hawkins is a good guy. Fuck him or don't fuck him, but since when do you avoid people that you hook up with? Chapter 10 is in Nathan's POV. Have you ever seen a woman sprint in stilettos? I have. She was moving so quickly, I'm surprised there wasn't smoke behind her. That's kind of funny, but I feel like that's a very like mom joke, and I would know because I think I've made that joke before. I too am a cringe mom. After seeing her in bed with Rothwell yesterday, I'm back to believing the interest is one-sided. I've decided today is the day we're going to talk it out. She's good at communicating her feelings. She's proved that. She's obviously not good at facing men whose faces she's on. Wow. So talking to Henry in group chat, Henry's like, well, she definitely has sex with Ryan Rothwell. Maybe basketball players are her type. And Nathan's like, I always liked Ryan Rothwell until now. You just slept with some other woman like the same day that she was sleeping with Ryan. What's wrong with you? I wiped the sweat from my brow when her skates are back on the ice and let go of the breath I didn't even know I was holding. He's watching her skate. She tries to do like a certain kind of flip. She ends up falling and smacking her head. He runs up and is like, I'm trained in first aid. She needs to go to the hospital, but the open wound needs cleaning and wrapping before she goes anywhere. So he helps her with her wound. In the next chapter, chapter 11 is in Anastasia's POV. Aaron is like, you were amazing today. I can't wait for Lo to see the video. We're a good team, Stas. We argue sometimes, but we can't do that what we do with other people. It wouldn't be the same. And she says, annoyingly, he isn't wrong. And he's like, just stick to your meal plan. We can smash this. Well then,
And a quarter cup of cheese. Ooh, cheese.
they're talking about the fact that she is interested in Nate, and I think Lola's there. It says, he makes her happy and it's none of our business. It will be when she gets knocked up and ghosted. You should stay away from them, Stassi. They're bad news. You don't always have to go where Lola tells you to, you know. I'm trying to look out for you, Stassi. I care about you. We're partners. That goes beyond skating. I know you do the same for me. I make allowances for Aaron, but sometimes like now, he says something that makes me question his real motives. There are times when the idea he'd say anything bad about either of us feels impossible, when he's fiercely loyal and protective without being toxic, when the three of us are tucked up together in our living room, watching movies and laughing. Then there are times like now, when the nasty streak he has seeps through the cracks. Sometimes it comes so out of nowhere, it feels like whiplash, making me wonder if I know him at all. I don't understand how you guys have been friends for 3 years and this has not been talked about, especially by you, who is like a staunch believer in communicating. You've been in therapy your whole life because she was adopted. So her parents have made sure that she's in therapy. She's even going to have a therapy appointment. Everybody knows this about her, is that she is like very, keen on communication and, being strong in oneself and going to therapy. But for some reason, she has made allowances for Aaron for years. I don't understand. Anyway, she's at a party again at the hockey house. What a shock. There are so many hockey players. I had a hard time like remembering who was who. There's a Bobby and a Robbie and a Henry and a Maddie. So Nate walks up from behind her, puts his hands on her waist, breathes on her neck. Ah, you shouldn't be drinking. You have a head injury. And then in Nate's POV, it says, I don't bother mentioning my plan to win her over, how surprised she looked when I stepped around her earlier, leaving her with her friends. From now on, she's going to come to me. And then like 2 minutes later, fuck the plan. The jealousy is suffocating me. I throw back the rest of my drink, letting the cool liquor soothe the burning in my chest. Oh, they're not at a party. That's right. They're out. They're out at a club drinking together. And then so they go dancing. He got jealous because she was dancing with somebody else. They're all crowded into an Uber together, and somehow they are separated in this Uber from everybody else. I guess it's a Uber van or some sort. And she notices that he has a raging and she says to him, if it makes you feel any less embarrassed, I'm so fucking wet. You guys are in a car. Calm down. Chapter 13 is in Anastasia's POV. I find myself dealing with the consequences of my actions, with no one to blame for my aching wet vagina but myself. I can't take it seriously. He says, you only like me when you're drunk and horny, which is true. Every single time that they've fooled around, they've been drinking. And she says, that's not true. I don't like you at any time. Don't tell me you don't like me when I can feel how wet you are all over your thighs, Anastasia. Drunkenness aside, Taylor Swift's Cruel Summer came on the radio and Chris turned it to full volume. She's about to have an orgasm to Cruel Summer. Can you be a good girl and be quiet? His knees nudge mine further apart, mouth descending on mine again, more possessive, more dominant. His nose brushes mine. One day I'll f your pretty little mouth and you're not going to be able to be such a bossy, impatient little brat. Okay, so why is it's not okay when Aaron talks to her like this in a less sexual context, but it's fine when Nate does it? Sure. I hate this line. Your is so perfect, so wet and tight. You gonna for me? I'm all over my fingers, Anastasia. So show me what it's gonna feel like when I've got my buried inside you. So she arrives and then he says, open your mouth, suck, see how good you taste. Then the music cuts and somebody's like, does anyone want McDonald's? So afterwards they're leaving. Her friend Lola said, did you have sex in the Uber? So then they go up to the hockey house. She is so tired. He asks, do you want to go to bed? And she says, so badly. She's trying to get into his room and she's punching in the code for whatever reason. And she's like, it's not working. And he says, yeah, that's not my code. And she says, no, you're right. I'm sorry. That's the code for Ryan's room. It's like the room temperature chills as I watch almost every emotion sweep across his face at once. Yeah, Ryan. I forgot about Ryan somehow. The guy you're f***ing. Why are you so mad? You two are not an item. You just f***ed somebody else. What is the problem here? Why are you being such a dick? And it would be wrong if Aaron said something like this, but it's fine when Nathan does. We're not hooking up. He's my best friend. Why are you jealous? I'm jealous because I want you all to myself, Stassi, and I'm jealous of any guy you've freely given your attention to. Red flag. Major red flag. Run the opposite direction. I'm even jealous of Henry, for fuck's sake, and I love that kid. Oh, see, this is why I think that Henry gets infantilized, because they call him a kid. Ryan and I worked so well because we didn't get jealous. We didn't care what the other did outside of our arrangement. That's swell, but I'm not Ryan. I don't want to share you with some other guys. You know I can keep you perfectly satisfied on my own in every way you need. I hate this. Stop overthinking and f me. It's not that serious. I don't want to have sex with you. No, shit, I do. But not right now. I want you to want me when you're sober, Anastasia. I can't take another week of you avoiding me. I fucking hate it. He asks, you know, do you want to cuddle? And she's like, I'm not a cuddler. And when he falls asleep, she leaves in an Uber. In the next chapter is in Nathan's POV, and he says to her, I'm sorry. She says, you don't need to apologize to me, Nathan. He does, actually. Not for saying he didn't want to have sex, but for the other stuff. You're allowed to withdraw consent at any time. I'd never ever be mad at you for changing your mind. True, and great idea. You should be mad at him for saying that he's jealous and wants you all to himself when you have made it pretty clear that that's not a dynamic that you are opting into at all. I struggle with rejection. I've never been good at any of it. Even as a little kid, I felt rejected and overwhelmed last night. I only wanted to hook up and you started talking about not sharing me. And instead of dealing with this, they just gloss right over it. And she's annoyed with him because the hockey team is overrunning and fucking up her schedule. And I'm like, this should have been more of a theme where she's like very rigid about her schedule and how him coming in and trying to move things around is a boundary violation for her. But instead, it just moves on. And then later in the chapter, they're texting and she's being flirty. And he says, tell you what, and she says to him, tell you what, Hawkins, you find me before midnight and you can finally this pretty little mouth of mine. That way I won't be able to be such an impatient, bossy little brat. Deal? And he answers with, you're going to look so good with my in your mouth. So he's running around trying to find where she is so that he can get a job. Cool. Chapter 15 is in Anastasia's POV and he's like, just tell me where you are. This is punishment, isn't it, for us playing late all week? You're still angry, aren't you? And she said, you should know not to fuck with my ice time, Nathan. She's actually at his house and he does not know because he's not home. She finds out from his roommates that he's texting the group chat asking if anyone wants to go out tonight. She ends up throwing an impromptu party at his house. And when he figures it out, he shows up with another girl that he's been interested in. And he goes upstairs with the girl and she's like, I think this is jealousy, shit. And then when the girl leaves, she's like, what the fuck was that? Are you jealous, Anastasia? I'm annoyed. You made me look like a fool in front of our friends. You had me running all over campus when you were quite literally where I've wanted you the whole time. Imagine how foolish I feel. And she's like, what the fuck was that with Summer? I never touched her. She got her period and needed to use the bathroom urgently. I've been sitting up here waiting for you to come and get angry at me. I've been interested to see how this no jealousy thing you were talking about works. Well, I am angry at you, Nathan. Oh my God, you guys are the worst. Oh no, we had a chance to talk about boundaries here and appropriate behavior and how jealousy is a you problem and not the other person's problem, and instead they're making out. Our mouths smash into each other in a crazed, drunk, desperate display of built-up sexual frustration. She sees his inside his boxers. I realize there is absolutely no way it will fit in my mouth or anywhere else for that matter. Of course, he's bigly big. The is the biggest to ever. Every book is exactly the fucking same. And now he's going to call her baby, which I don't like because she's already been like calling herself the size of a toddler in comparison to him. So like when we do those like little tiny moments of like making her seem kind of like a child and then to literally call her baby, it's a pattern. It's not any of these things in isolation. It's all of them that make me kind of uncomfortable. You can feel however you want about it, but it gives me the ick. Stick your tongue out, baby. That's a good girl. Do you want me to fuck you, Anastasia? Don't be gentle. F me like you hate me. Then it switches to Nate's POV. It actually like rewinds time. I'd say she's gonna ruin all other women for me, but I don't think about anyone but her. Don't be gentle. F me like you hate me. Jesus Christ. I'm not going to act like I hate you, Anastasia, because I could never hate you. Oh, here we go. I'm going to f you like this tight little pussy is mine. You'll take it like a good girl, won't you? What the f? She has made it clear that she doesn't like the possessiveness. She was friends with benefits with Aaron, with Ryan, and he didn't do this. You know, it's not my fault that all these dudes' names end in the same syllable. Aaron, Nathan, Ryan. Why did you do this to me? And then there's Bobby and Robbie. Come on! Can I get a Caleb just to switch things up? Maybe a nice Carlos? God, I wish Carlos was here to laugh about this book with me. I love you, bitch. Ugh, now I have to read these terrible lines again. You feel so fucking good, Anastasia. Such a perfect. Stop writing the words perfect. Stop writing it. I hate it. I don't like it. You know what's not a perfect? The cat that just threw up on my bed. I cannot believe that you did that while I'm filming in front of my salad. You're a demon, she says. I told you I was gonna fuck this like it's mine, Anastasia, because it is fucking mine. And she says, in your dreams. And I'm like, actually, we don't need to do that. We can just say, hey, that's weird and a boundary violation for me. Or we could say, hey, I'm okay with you playing that out in a sex scenario, but I want you to know that in real life, my body is mine and I have autonomy. I have a problem with Aaron, making demands and crossing boundaries with me, and I also have a problem with you doing that. But instead, we just have double standards. Was that better than hate sex? Oh my God, shut up, Nathan. Instead of going to sleep myself, I lie in the dark, listening to her breathing and trying to devise a plot to make her not want to do this with anyone else. And I come up with absolutely nothing. Good. I'm glad your no thoughts head empty, because that's a terrible idea. It is a terrible idea to make it so that she does not want to sleep with anybody else when you know that she's not interested in a relationship. Or at least that's the assumption. I mean, that's who she's been up to this point. But Anastasia doesn't, despite, saying I'm such a good communicator, communicate that. I don't actually know what Anastasia wants. Chapter 17, Anastasia's POV. They wake up. It's hard to be happy about having the best sex of your life when the guy you did it with is impossibly annoying. I mean, you and I are in full agreement. He is impossibly annoying. The difference is I wouldn't him. Quit your job so we can go back to bed. Is this what being dignitized feels like? Is this what being dignitized feels like? Haven't I read another book that used the word dignitized? What was it? Somebody has to remember. My memory's shit. You have to tell me. Unfortunately, the word dignitized gets used twice in this book, and that is 2 times too many. Anyway, she goes to work and he's big sad about it. He doesn't have to work because he's rich. Chapter 18 is in Nathan's POV, and he asks her, not for the last time, do you want to play house? He basically wants her to come over and cook meals with him and hang out with all of his buds who he is sort of parentified in the situation with. Aaron is annoyed with her, and he remembers that Ryan mentioned something about Aaron controlling what she eats, and he's like, all right, let's order food. What do you want me to order for you? So they're getting closer and closer, but they're still not having a conversation about boundaries, consent, long-term plans, the possession issue, why it's cool when he says, this is mine. Aaron, saying, you can only eat this, this, and this is a problem. Okay. Oh, here's where I got real icked out. Chapter 19, Anastasia. They bothered Henry or something. I can't really remember. It wasn't a big deal, but it says, as much as I don't like waking up to Henry's guilty face, I like this sexy but caring dad thing you've got going on. So again, we're making Henry into childlike as opposed to the parentified Nate, which I don't like. But we're not even going to deal with that. We're just going to move to him saying the most disturbing thing as of yet, and her just glossing right over it. Don't even joke, Anastasia. His whole demeanor changed, and the grinding against me resumed instantly, because I will put a baby in you right now, and you'll be stuck teaching bratty little skaters like Brady. Pardon me? Anyway, we just move right on from there. It's been a week since Aaron found out I hooked up with Nathan, and he's still mad, but I can't work out why for the life of me. Neither can I. And I finished the book, and I still don't know. I don't know why Aaron is like this, and the person who should know is Anastasia. Unfortunately, she wasn't written to have a villain who had normal motivations or to be understood by the audience. He was just there to have some sort of conflict in this book. I feel like screaming every time someone suggests that it's because he's in love with me, but they won't be convinced despite my objections. When I say someone, I mean everyone on Nate's hockey team, including Nate. My theory is Aaron never learned to share, and this might only get worse. I can't believe you've lived with him for 3 years and this has never been a problem until you met Nate. I don't understand. Oh, and then she's wearing another hockey player's jersey, and he says, take it off, Anastasia. Take what off? Take off Jaden's jersey or I will rip it from your body. You seem angry, Nathan. I think you need to find a way to channel your rage into something rewarding. Last chance, baby. Which one of us is taking it off? But JJ is my favorite hockey player. And then they are again. Such a tight little Anastasia, all for me. You think you can get under my skin? Do you think I don't see this little game you're playing? It's my you all over. Even when you want to put another guy's name on your back, it's my name you scream. Again, if this was just for the scene, then fine. Like when I read The Dare by Harley LaRue, right? She was finding out that she had certain kind of kinks. These kinks don't really extend to outside of the scenario. She doesn't want to be treated like this by everybody. It's in scenario and she's consenting the whole way. This guy is literally trying to control her and she doesn't seem to care, but seems to care when it's Aaron doing it. Help me understand. Anyway, they finish finish up, Aaron shows up or he's holding his arm and it's injured. Aaron, what happened to your arm? Ask your boyfriend, Anastasia. Chapter 20 is in Nathan's POV. We're not going to be able to compete at sectionals. So this is when we finally get to the part where it's like Aaron can't compete and Anastasia needs to be able to still like do the routine and stuff, so Nathan's gonna have to step in. We're not going to be able to compete at sectionals. Aaron's head stroked her head, soothing her. I want to drag her away from him and promise her I didn't do it, but he ushered her out of the booth, low close behind them, and I let them leave. Aaron slipped on a banana peel or something. He apparently got hurt because there was an accident and somebody said that it was set up by Nathan, some random person. He claims he doesn't know the witnesses' names and he's not told Brady it was me. No, he saved that bit for Anastasia, claiming he doesn't want me to get in trouble, but because he's looking out for her. But Nate gets in trouble either way and ends up getting benched. And he feels so sick over this, rightly so, that he's getting accused of something he definitely didn't do, that he's getting a migraine. I would get migraines when I lived at home from the stress of spending so much time with my dad. They were unbearable, which is how I know if I keep on top of the painkillers, I can just about function. If I let it spiral out of control, I'll be vomiting and hiding from the light like a vampire before I know it. Yep, this is like exactly how my migraines are. So I appreciate that that's in here. Again, I never see like migraine rep in men, so it was nice to see that as well. Credit where credit is due. So he's told, you don't play in games until Aaron can skate again. That's what the dean said. You can come to games in your suit, but you sit and watch. You don't train with the team, and you can't be a part of any team-related activities other than traveling. He's like, okay, how long is Aaron out for? And they don't know for sure. He obviously lifts his girlfriend when they skate, so they don't want to put her at risk if he's not going to be strong enough in 2 weeks. She's not his girlfriend. If I find out this is over a woman, Hawkins, so help me God, I'll kill you myself. I'm not totally clueless. I know this doesn't add up, but what am I supposed to do? Because Nate decided to just say, sure, I did it. So he goes and talks to Anastasia, and she's like, you lied to me again. You promised me you didn't do anything, and you lied, Nathan. He's like, no, I didn't. I can fix this. I can talk about this, but also I'm gonna fucking throw up because I have a migraine. And she's literally laying in bed crying with Ryan. Not in a sexual way, in a friend way, but apparently that's unacceptable to Nathan. God forbid women have friends. Migraine, I'll drive home, I'll come back, we can talk. And then he passes out or throws up, and Ryan's like, he can't drive. Chapter 21, Anastasia. She's in therapy. We talked about your parents a lot there, Anastasia. You told me you feel overwhelmed by the need to succeed for them more than yourself. Does the pressure or the overwhelmed feeling you describe diminish when you haven't seen them? Which is a good question. I wish we had had more than one therapy session in this book. What are your interests outside of figure skating, Anastasia? I don't have any.
You're not like the other girls, Jennifer. Winners make sacrifices.
And if you were to lose a competition or decide you didn't want to skate anymore, do you think your parents would be mad? Take a moment and think about it. I don't feel like this was really fleshed out enough. I think she put a lot of stock into her skating more than her parents did. She does think about Aaron a little bit. Do you find he gets annoyed with you often? Aaron would benefit from therapy is probably the nicest way to put it. Aaron's parents manipulate each other all the time. It's super unhealthy, and Aaron has grown up being shown you can get what you want. That way, he wants to be better than them, and he does try. A lot of the time, he's a wonderful friend. But does he get annoyed with you often? I definitely take the brunt of his bad moods, but I spend more time with him than anyone else. Sometimes it feels like everything's perfect, and suddenly it won't be, and I won't know what I did wrong. That sounds difficult. And she tells him about the issue with Nate having taken the fall for Aaron getting hurt, but Nathan telling her he didn't do it. Nathan and Aaron can't both be telling the truth. Aaron hasn't gained anything. He has no reason to lie. But that doesn't make any fucking sense. You just said that he knows that he can get things by manipulating people, and you said before that it's like living with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So what do you mean? Just because you can't see that he can't gain anything doesn't mean that he didn't do it. The correct question is, who is more likely to lie in this scenario? Nate didn't get anything out of it either. And it's true that Aaron didn't really get anything out of it, which is, the problem is this book didn't really write stakes in a way that makes sense. But again, you know who Aaron is. You set up that he is like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You said it before, and now you're like, but I wonder if he's the one lying. Yeah, probably. So anyway, she leaves therapy. I did think that this having therapy where it's like your therapist gives you actionable items at the end on page, that makes sense. I need to set boundaries with my mom and dad so I can enjoy spending time with them and not worrying. And I need to put myself first when Aaron is being difficult. I can be a good friend while also prioritizing my well-being. Chapter 24, Nathan. He's like, I'll be your partner. She says, what if you can't stand me when we're done? Anastasia, me not liking you in 8 weeks is not a concern you need to have, but just know if I'm ever down a guy, I'll be expecting you to step up and play hockey. I think your hostility would be a great addition to the team. That's actually kind of funny. So then they decide, okay, when we get out of this car, we're going to be skating partners and we can't touch each other until well, 4 weeks from now when we do sectionals, or when I do sectionals. He says something that is like possessive. I didn't even highlight what it was. And it says, her eyes brighten, her heat flushing her cheeks instantly. But her response verbally is that supposed to be endearing? Feels a little possessive and toxic. The corner of his mouth tugs up, loving that this is my day now. Don't give me that shit. I've seen what you have on your smutty bookshelf. This is so gross. This is so gross. I hate it. The only reason that this got a 2-star on Goodreads, which my rating is a 1.75, a 2-star on Goodreads instead of a 1 is because it's a 1.75. And the only reason that it's not a 1 is because I appreciate on-page therapy and I appreciate migraine rep. That's about it. I like so deeply appreciate migraine rep that I was willing to be like, okay, I'll allow this. I actually don't want to allow it anymore. I want to lower my rating. I hate this book. Reading it back to you, I'm like, I can't think of a single good reason why it's okay for her to be like, that feels possessive and toxic, and him being like, yeah, but I've seen what you read in your smutty little books, bitch. Like, wow, you are worse than I anticipated. I want you to drive off into the sun. Thank you. Well, I had to take a break and talk to my insurance company, where I just found out that I will in fact be having to pay that $800 bill. So that is awesome. So now I get to try to plan out reading more terrible books so that I can pay a bill that my insurance should be paying. I fucking love being an adult. It's so much fun. You know who doesn't have to deal with this shit? Nathan. Nate Hawkins doesn't have to deal with this because he's rich. And he doesn't have to think about things like extremely expensive insurance bills. It's shitty when women ask for a more expensive Uber, according to Nate Hawkins, because, you know, rich women on daddy's credit card suck. But when a rich boy says things like possessive bullshit like this pussy is mine, it's fine because he's a rich asshole who's allowed to be domineering because he's more rich than the other rich Aaron. Oh, I'm so jaded right now. I'm so salty. Oh my God, I'm so mad. And I'm taking out on a fictional character. Perfect. So he starts, instead of her being like, okay, I'm not training with Aaron anymore. I am working with Nate now, and being like, good, now I can be in more control. She hands over even more control to Nate. She's like, I have been on a diet.
That is way more than a quarter cup.
It's clear to anyone who spends time with Anastasia that she has a complicated relationship with food. I swear half the time her bad moods are because she's hungry. So I really think that this book is not something that should be read by anybody who has an eating disorder. I am one of those people. I'm okay, but like just in case, you might want to avoid it because the food stuff gets to be a bit much in the first 60% of this book. Anyways, she says, Aaron and I have a food plan. I do the food prep and stuff through the week. We have to be organized with it. Who designed this meal plan? Aaron did. The answer is an unsurprising yet still disappointing one. For once, I'm speechless. My feelings about Aaron Carlisle are understandably not great, and I feel like I've earned that. But this is fucking weird. He has either no idea what he's doing when it comes to nutrition, or does this on purpose. Anastasia, you are massively under-eating. You are not eating enough, not even close. So he's looking at her meal plan and noticing like it's mostly like fruits and vegetables. It's very calorie deficient. There's not enough protein to like build back muscle. And there's basically no carbs, which is how our body gets energy. Ryan once said that Aaron was trying to control what you ate. She rolls her eyes. Ignore Ryan. He'd make me eat KFC every night, which is not realistic. I don't have his superhuman metabolism.
I just brought her burger, Mrs. H.
Aaron says he struggles to lift me sometimes. It makes Ryan cranky. He says he struggles to lift you? What the fuck? I've seen Aaron comfortably lift twice Anastasia's weight. He might not be a big guy, but he is strong. He's fucking unhinged, Stas. You're being dramatic. So I don't understand this because it never really gets explained why it is that Aaron did this. But like in general, Aaron's motives are unclear and his specific decisions don't get explained in a way that I feel like works. In the next chapter, she gets into it with Aaron about this, about her meal plan and how it was suggested that she change it. Suggested by who? Hawkins? The way he says Nathan's name is borderline poisonous. You suck his a couple of times and suddenly he knows what you need better than I do. His words knock the wind out of me. I splutter and choke on what I wanted to say. Surprised. Astounded is a better word. You know what, Anastasia? Fuck off. If Nate Hawkins is so fucking smart, go rely on him for everything. But when he gets bored of you, don't come cry to me because you're the one who drops your panties for anyone in a jersey. Chapter 26, basically nothing important happens, but in chapter 27, also Anastasia's POV. She gets back into it with Aaron saying, I've been under eating, Aaron. I bet it had a higher risk of injury for months and you're the one with the problem. I trusted you. You are so fucking dramatic. Why are you acting like I've been starving you? I thought it was fine. You never complained and you're an adult, Anastasia. You can eat more if you're hungry. How is it my fault if you don't listen to your body? Oh, and have you remind me I have an outfit to fit into? Or have you grown when you lift me? so I'm a bad guy because I keep you accountable? You want to control me and you're destroying our friendship, our partnership. And instead of answering this, he says, when are you coming home? Because she's been staying at the hockey house with Nate and the guys. Playing house, as it were. When are you coming home? I miss you. What? I miss you. Not mish. His change of direction gives me whiplash, and it reminds me that deep down Aaron's lost. I can't come home until you properly understand what you've done, and I believe you will change. I know you believe anything he tells you, but why would I purposely put you at a greater risk of injury, Anastasia? If you don't believe I care, if you don't believe I care about you, fine, but you know I care about myself, so why would I risk my own goals if you ended up with an injury? This is a great question. I don't know the answer, and I've finished the book. He isn't wrong. The number one thing Aaron Carlisle cares about is himself. I don't know why you do a lot of the things you do, but it doesn't mean you don't do them. Yeah, that's basically just the answer. She doesn't know why he's doing these things to her, but he does do them. Yep, that's it. I didn't like watch you skating with someone else. I do want to fix this, Stas. I promise. I believe you, but right now your promise isn't enough. So then she goes to the hockey house with Nate and the guys. You know, mom returns. She's not really Tinkerbell. She's more like Wendy returning and being mother to the Lost Boys. Nate's drunk. He wants to sleep with her, but then they're like, you're drunk. You shouldn't be having sex. Drunk people can't give consent. And she says, that's right, bub. And I'm like, bub, oh no, that's what I call my 5-year-old. Oh, I don't like it. I don't like it. Help. Then they find out that Aaron is hooking up with Kitty Vincent, the super rich girl that he was having sex with at the beginning of the book. Nate was. I don't know why we needed to know this. And in fact, it just goes into this long tirade about how Kitty is the worst, but her best friend Rosie is really nice, and we don't understand how they're possibly friends. So she's learning this downstairs in the hockey house while Nate's asleep upstairs, except he wakes up and she's not in his room and he's super drunk. You weren't there when I woke up. Oh my God, where are your clothes? Come back to bed, he whines. No funny business, just cuddle with me. Everybody's filming him, and they're not supposed to even like have sex or kiss or anything because they're partners now, and apparently they think that if they're partners they shouldn't, even though it's like fine. I don't really understand why. And they've been sleeping with pillows in between them, but now that he's super drunk and he just came down and demanded that she go to bed with him, even though he should just be cool with her hanging out with their mutual friends, he demands she go to bed with him. And she's like, okay, which I'm like, oh, cool. Just let him control your entire life. It sucks when Aaron does it, but when drunk Nate does it, it's so cute. After 3 weeks of pillow separation, being flush against him feels so freaking good. I don't bother fighting to keep my eyes open. Like, it would have been fine if she was like, I'm tired anyway, I'll just go to bed with you. But next time you need to say please. You need to like say what you would like from me, and I get to say like whether or not I'm even interested in going to bed right now. Like, this is a communication moment. And instead, the great communicator that is Anastasia isn't communicating. Chapter 28. Nathan, my phone is full of messages and I don't need to open them because I open one and the rest of them are guaranteed to be the same. All be of me strolling drunk through my living room, practically naked, trying to drag Anastasia upstairs with me like a needy, inebriated baby. Well, at least he's self-aware enough to call himself a needy baby. He's like, oh, she's probably mad. But then he looks at her, judging by the content look on her face as she sleeps peacefully. I guess she's about as happy about this closeness as I am. And then he looks at his Puck Bunnies, yeah, that's what it's called, group chat with his friend, and all of his friends are making fun of him. And one of them, Jaden, says, it's like an emoji, like an angry emoji, and it says, Nate, when Stassi dares to talk to someone that isn't him. And I'm like, why are you guys emboldening this? It sucks when Aaron does it, but when Nate does it, it's cute. I don't get it. His sister, Sasha, who rarely comes up, is like, I'm so embarrassed. I'm not going to UCMH. Everybody knows that you were like drunk in your underwear yelling for your girlfriend to come lay in bed with you. And so now we're switching to the part where they are finally starting to think about what they are to each other. Because at this point, they're just skating partners who have fucked. I haven't had a girlfriend the whole time we've been at college. Not that she's my girlfriend. Why am I panicking like she can hear my thoughts? When I told her I was an all or nothing person, I was mainly joking. You were? What's the punchline? I sure as hell wasn't expecting her to move in. The idea of her not living with me and the guys is weird to me now, and I'm worried about where we go from here. She says once she sorts things out with Aaron, she wants to move back there. It's hard to understand, especially since she calls this house home. Well, home is where the dick is, I guess. Then she reminds me at the end of the school year, I'll be moving to Canada and she'll be here alone. She isn't wrong, but it still doesn't convince me that she should live with Aaron again. Oh yeah, this is his final year of college and he's going off to play for some team in Canada. Remember, he's a hockey player who never plays hockey. When she wakes up, she should be like, hey, let's talk about boundaries and how you talked to me last night, even if you were drunk, was like Not cool. Instead, she goes, how's your head? Do you want me to make you some pancakes? And he says, I embarrassed you and you want to make me pancakes? She says, you embarrassed yourself. And I know for a fact your friends are going to terrorize you today, potentially for the rest of your life. Thinking about it, you could say they're pity pancakes more than anything. You want choc chip? Choc chip, not chocolate. You want choc chip? Is he a baby? Is he a big inebriated baby? I guess so, since you're calling him bub. I just don't get this. Like, sometimes I take it easy on my kids when they mess up. And I'm like, that was a real bummer, dude. You want choc chip? I would not do that to Carlos because he's a grown-ass man. And if he embarrassed me, but not only embarrassed me, like, you know, who cares what other people perceive us as? It's the fact that you made demands of me and I was just supposed to comply with them, and you're being really possessive and aggressive and treating me like property, but then being mad when another guy does it, as if it's not okay to be aggressive and possessive. It's okay. Like, that's what we should be talking about it. Instead, they become boyfriend and girlfriend. Then we get like 10 chapters of them traveling for the holidays. He meets her parents. They love him. She goes with him to his massive house where there's no Christmas tree, and she's sad because she's like, what if you had come home and you had been without me and I wasn't your girlfriend and you came here and there was no Christmas tree and you had Christmas all by yourself? And then she like sobs, and then they have sex. And then they're about to have sex on his countertop and his sister walks into the house. So that's great, just terrorizing a teenager. They go out to dinner with his dad. His dad sucks. At one point, they're staying at his house and it's just him and her, and he had been out doing errands and she went for an ice skate by herself on a frozen lake. And he calls her and he's like, where are you at? And she's like, oh, I'm ice skating. I'm just watching a deer go by. And then the ice cracks, she falls through. He saves her life, take her to the hospital. And then because of all this, that's when they finally admit that they are in love with each other. And at the hospital, a nurse says, protective, isn't he? And she says, very. It's because he cares though, so I don't mind. And I'm like, oh, so that's it. If he's doing it because he cares, then it's fine for him to be crossing over boundaries, being possessive of you, being jealous. So then it would have been fine if Ryan did it, or not, because you're more into Nathan than you were Ryan. Like, what's the deal here? When they get back from Christmas break after dealing with meeting his dad, meeting her parents, her falling through the ice, all this shit, they get back and she's like, I think I do want to go back to my apartment where she lives with Lola and Aaron. You want to live with a guy who shit talks you constantly? I know it might not make sense to you, and it doesn't have to. Loa's been filling me in on the stuff I've missed. I've been phoneless. Her phone fell under the ice. And I think Aaron is ready to sort things out. Anastasia, he's been vile to you. He's a liar and a bully. You don't need him. Aaron's been cleared to skate. I was going to tell you in the morning because it's been such a long day, but I think it means you can go back to hockey. So we're not going to be skating together and you're moving out. Will I just be a Thursday night hookup then? When can you make time for me in your planner? What planner? She hasn't pulled that shit out in weeks because of you. I don't trust him, but I trust you and your judgment. I'll be here for you, whatever you decide. Then she finds out through Henry that Aaron has been talking shit about her, saying awful stuff like her parents, her birth parents didn't want her and her adopted parents basically pity her, and that she's just trying to get knocked up by Nathan so that she can like lock him down and all kinds of other stuff. Like, he's been talking shit to like all kinds of people at their school, people at UCLA. So then she gets into it with him in front of their coach, Coach Brady. And when she reveals this, Brady's like, oh, Aaron, please tell me that you did not say all this stuff. It's true, Coach. I said it all and worse. I'm so sorry, Anastasia. You were calling me a bad skater and telling people I was trying to trap Nate with a baby because I'm poor. Do you even realize how fucked up that is? What have I done to make you hate me? That's enough to get his attention, and he finally looks up at me again. His face is Blake. He's calculating the appropriate reaction because he definitely didn't know I knew that. What do you mean he's calculating? This is normal for him? Why did you never think this before? So you know that he's calculating, but you didn't think he was calculating when you weren't sure if it was Nate or him that was lying? What? My dad had another affair, got this one pregnant, and mom finally kicked him out. She's our age, Stas. Do you know how sick that is? Your mom doesn't deserve to be treated like that. She's never deserved to be treated like that. But I don't understand what this has to do with me. You haven't been around. I needed you, needed your support, and you've been nowhere. You've been partying and hanging around with guys you don't even like. I felt alone, and it made me so mad at you. But you weren't mad when she was fucking Ryan. And she's only hanging out at the hockey house because you were rude. And also, you couldn't skate. which you did. This doesn't make sense. I want to know why he did this. I genuinely want to. There's this therapist here in LA named Dr. Rebecca. She specializes in couples, but not in a romantic way. People like us, pairs, teammates. My mom said she'll pay for it after I told her what I'd done. My mom said this could be a fresh start for us all. Their coach says good communication is key when it comes to partnership. You two have had a very rocky few months, and if this pairing is going to continue, we need to get you back on track. See, this just doesn't make sense. Like, it would have made sense if they weren't friends, if they were just really good partners, and then he had gotten hurt accidentally and then thought that Nate was a threat or something. Like, there were other ways we could have done this. But them being friends for years and then as soon as Nate comes into the picture, then he turns is weird, especially if there's no romantic reason behind it. Not that I want there to be. I don't want it to be that, oh, he's just jealous, because I've had enough of the jealousy in this book, but I want some motive. I want a motive. He knows exactly what he's doing, which is what irritates me the most, knowing he's hitting me with something I won't be able to refuse. I've been praising the effectiveness of therapy the entire time I've known him, mainly to make him go and work out his issues. Even after everything that has happened, he's trying to manipulate me into doing something. I'm going to have to think about it, Aaron. It's a huge commitment to make, and you've hurt me. You've really hurt the people around me, people who I love. You loved me once, too. So she's trying to grapple with this, thinking, to be told this whole mess is because I've supposedly failed Aaron as a friend is hard to swallow. Logically, I know it isn't true, but Aaron was never going to sit there and admit he didn't even try to talk to me about it. Emotionally, I'm questioning if there's more I could have done, and now I'm annoyed at myself because that's what he wants, and I'm falling for it. So back out. I mean, in the end, she does. She's like, I'll just go solo. And I'm like, why did you never consider that before? Why did no one ask you before why you don't go solo? What is it preventing you from going solo until Aaron does the ultimate worst thing he does at the end? She gets super fucking wasted and then falls asleep in bed with her friend Lola and Lola's boyfriend Robbie. And I was surprised that Nate didn't fucking lose it about this, but I guess it's fine since Lola was there. She tells Nate, well, I guess me and Aaron are gonna start therapy. Couples therapy, sports partner therapy. He's up to something. Chapter 44 is in Nate's POV. They've started their couples counseling that isn't for couples. A few days after her drunken shenanigans with Lola, and each time she started therapy, and each time she comes home teary, tired, and overwhelmed. It's normal, is what she keeps telling me. Starting any type of therapy is difficult. I mean, that's true, yeah. He asked her how it's going. She says, I don't want to talk about it. Let's just have fun. He says, why won't you tell me? Because you're not going to like it, she says. You're moving out, aren't you? She sighs, and I know I'm right. Dr. Rebecca thinks it's a good idea. We have nationals next week. She thinks it'd be good for us, for Aaron and I, to spend time this week getting in the zone. We used to feel so in sync when we lived together, and we've lost that. She said even if it's just a trial, now would be a good time to do it. I wish that if we were going this angle of like Aaron just made a switch, not only would we have had motive, but we would have seen that side of Aaron, that real closeness with Anastasia. Like, what is it that draws her to being friends with him, and vice versa? Like, what inside jokes do they have? What background do they have? Like, what is there at the core of their relationship? Because all she said is like, he seems like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and I think that he is a spoiled rich kid. And I'm like, I don't understand. So the doctor that he picked and he's paying for thinks you should move back to the apartment. There's a fucking surprise. Can't believe you're falling for it. Don't talk to me like I'm naive, Nathan. I'm not. Just don't understand how you don't see what he's doing to you. How are you forgiving him for everything he's done to you? All the things he said. I've made my choice to try to fix things professionally. You actually don't have to live with your partner to be in a professional skating relationship. So that's bullshit. You always have other choices, Stas. But you don't have to move out. You don't have to go to therapy. You don't have to do any fucking thing you don't want to for that man. Why should you make sacrifices for him? He doesn't care about you, and I think it's funny that he hates me, and suddenly your therapist is telling you not to live with me anymore. You're not attempting to see things from my point of view. Your sacrifice was for your team. You need to get this thing out of your head that I'm being manipulated because I'm not. But you just said you were. You just said you were in the like 2 minutes ago. She thinks to herself, I hate everything about this. Oh, he thinks to himself, I hate that I seem like the unreasonable one, and somehow Aaron comes out on top. How are you setting this up like a competition? That she is not a trophy, she's a person. I simply don't want her spending time with him, or any dude, which everybody knows about you. Oh, this is him when Stassi talks to another person that isn't him. Is he going to let you eat when you move back in with him? Nathan, if you can't talk to me with the same respect I talk to you, don't talk to me at all. I have the most important competition of my skating career in 1 week, and I can't be preoccupied with protecting your ego because you think Aaron fucking Carlisle is capable of undermining how much I love you. Chapter 45 is in Anastasia's point of view. As much as Nate loves me, this thing goes far beyond him not trusting Aaron. This is about his self-esteem and his spot in my life as the person I need. And she is like self-aware of this in the same way that she was self-aware a few chapters ago of Aaron being manipulative. And instead of doing anything about it, going to therapy, talking about what she can do to make boundaries to protect, because you can't change other people. What you can do is make boundaries with yourself and be like, I know that you are this way, and I'm going to put up safety nets so that I protect myself from the way that you are. He told me himself that there's a selfish and jealous part of him that doesn't want to share me with Aaron, and while normally this would be a red flag, when we talked about it and broke it down, it feels like it's because Nate holds me in such high regard he doesn't think Aaron deserves me. No, still a red flag. It's not, normally it would be a red flag, but it just is. It just is. Nathan doesn't know how to process what he's feeling because he hasn't had hundreds of hours of therapy like I have. Yeah, I'm starting to think those hundreds of hours of therapy didn't really do much for you, babe. To him and the rest of the guys, Aaron is a villain. He's the bad guy of the story, when in reality, Aaron is a very emotionally immature and misguided man. You literally called him Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and you said that you could actively see him trying to manipulate you. What do you mean? I've spent our entire college life so far justifying Aaron's bad behavior for no other reason than easiness and truly hoping that deep down he's a good person. That doesn't make me naive. It means I've looked at the good parts he's shown me and hoped that it was the real version of him, but I've ignored red flag after red flag. What were the good parts? I'm looking. I missed them. I guess they flew by. I think I want Nate to be proud of me. He tackles his issues head on, and that's what I'm trying to do, which is why, since I decided to tackle Aaron, I've been super surprised it's led to arguments with Nathan. You are? You're surprised by that? You're surprised that your jealous and possessive boyfriend who can't go a single sex scene without saying, pussy is mine, and being mad that you weren't in bed when he woke up because he's drunk and he needs you. Yeah. Okay, sure. But despite all this, and despite even Dr. Robeska, apparently, which we hear, off page, we don't see the appointment. Apparently even Dr. Robeska calling Aaron out on his shit. They get into an argument. What's wrong with you now? You're what's wrong with me, Aaron. How the hell am I supposed to concentrate when you're huffing and grunting at me? Give me a fucking break, Stas. You can't put on weight and not expect me to need a little time to adjust. You bench over 100 pounds more than what I weigh in the gym with ease. I watched you do it this morning. You added more freaking weight. One of Nathan's friends actually tells him in the next chapter that Anastasia is using Aaron to meet her own goals, which is not what Anastasia says in her POV, but okay. It would make sense if she was, but that's not really what's happening. She is trying to patch up this relationship with Aaron in a way. You think he's going to manipulate her into forgiving him, and then she won't need you anymore. You like being needed by her. It makes you feel important. Yeah, and in doing so, you have crossed her boundaries and tried to change her into somebody that she is not, and you've been extremely possessive and you need to stop. Does he? No. On his way to, I think, go see Stassi at, Nationals, he runs into a guy. They're updating each other. They know each other, and the guy also knows Aaron. And he was like, yeah, I was filling in for Aaron after, Aaron got hurt. And he's like, yeah, dude, Aaron got hurt playing football with us. We were drinking and dicking about at the beach, having a bonfire. Davey tackled him. He landed on his arm. I didn't know he blamed you for that. What the fuck? He hasn't told any of us any of this. And so now he's thinking he knew how he got hurt, and he tried to get me in trouble for it anyway. For what? For Anastasia? She's been single for years. He's never made a move. Did he do this to get me kicked out of school? Nothing makes sense because what he did doesn't fucking make sense. This is so stupid. Just writing it like, we don't know what his motive is. He's just bad. At Nationals, Aaron and Anastasia perform perfectly. They know they nailed it. She nailed every move. And at the end, the crowd is cheering, and Aaron pulls her in and kisses her. And she is like, that is the final straw for me. And everybody's watching this. Everybody's at home. Nathan's at home watching us right now, watching us kissing. I'm going to be sick. We're done, Aaron. You've gone too far this time. What do you mean we're done? We fucking nailed it. I don't understand what I've done. I don't get it. Stop crying. We need to find out where we placed. She starts crying, and he's like, oh, here we fucking go. Nate runs up, and he's like, oh, great. Nate's here. Literally, these two people are the same. Oh my Lord. Before I even have time to tell him not to do anything, his fist smashes into Aaron's face. You forced yourself on her, you piece of shit. Anastasia's like, I'm done. Brady says, what does that mean? Their coach, I'm not quitting. I'm just not going to skate with Aaron ever again. And Aaron's like, oh, you're going to go solo? You're not good enough to go solo. What are you planning on making your Olympic debut at 27? Be realistic. Just accept my apology. We'll talk about it with Dr. Robeska next week. We need to get our head in the game for tomorrow. Look how fucking good we are together. He calls her a bitch. Says you're not good enough to compete alone. Oh my God, you're ruining my life, he says. What a baby. For nearly 2.5 years, I put everything into this partnership, into our friendship. All you've done is use me and manipulate me, slut shame me, and tell me I'm not good enough to be your partner while I'm finally hearing you loud and clear. I thought you just said that he was a good friend sometimes, but now you're saying all you've done is slut shame me, manipulate me, use me, and tell me I'm not good enough. What do you mean? Her parents call, and Nate answers for her while she pretends to be asleep. And of course, they're like, oh, Nate, we're so so glad to talk to you. Yes, we're so proud of her. Of course, you know, Nate's all the parent she needs. She doesn't need anybody else. In fact, kick everybody else out. In fact, let's isolate her and never let her to talk to anybody else again. Isn't that the best case scenario, Nate? In chapter 50, Nathan gets called to the dean's office and he finds out that Anastasia vouched for the fact that Aaron Carlisle is a liar and there's no reason he should have been benched. This doesn't affect his career at all, of course. And Aaron got transferred to UCLA effective immediately. She's like, oh, you know, I want to stay living with you until you go off at the end of the year. I love it. It's like having loads of kids, but instead of being cute and small, they're like super big and drunk and curse. Anastasia Allen, do you have baby fever? No, I'm being a good girlfriend and roommate. Except in the epilogue right after this, she's pregnant. Oh my God. Oh, that's amazing.
I'm pregnant. That's amazing. Thank you.
Epilogue, Anastasia, 2 and a bit years later. She's being told pregnancy suits you. I'm sure, and she has a gold medal for solo skating, and her Nate, her boyfriend, not husband yet, we're getting there, is a Stanley Cup winner already, 2 and a bit years later. That's great. Therapy doesn't feel hard anymore. It makes me feel grateful. Recapping my feelings, things I've done, things I'm looking forward to, and even the things I'm nervous about. She's talking to her therapist who says, pregnancy suits you. It says that he bought her a Range Rover, not the therapist, the boyfriend, otherwise known as the sorry I accidentally knocked you up mom wagon. They became dog parents, but then her pre-Olympic debut anxiety caused her to vomit up her contraceptive pill. I won gold in the women's singles and we celebrated on every surface. I've basically been showing since conception. R.I.P. my vagina in a few months. Yeah, that's a line I had to read. I'm all bumping boobs. They go on a baby moon and he sinks to one knee in the sand. He says, will you marry me? She says yes. And she's like, oh my God, I'm gonna be Anastasia Hawkins. Here I was thinking this was a casual, no commitment, no jealousy thing. And he says, shut up, Anastasia. The end. How perfect. Oh, good golly, I am so pleased that we got to experience this together.
That's amazing. Thank you.
All right, let's wrap this shit up. My ideas to fix this are, number 1, shorten it, which can be as simple as stop all the repetition, stop all the sex scenes, stop all the repeated going out, stop all the same fights with Aaron over and over. Number 2, flesh out Aaron's character. Like, my God, please, for the love of God, give me a motive. Number 3, make Anastasia and Nathan characters that actually grow and change together because of what they experienced. Here's my proposed idea, which would be lovely if someone would actually write it. I vote that Aaron be featured more on page by not only making his motivations clear, but making those motivations tied to Nathan specifically. Maybe instead of just having one of Nate's friends, Robbie specifically, hurt on Nate's dad's property, his ski resort property, make it so that this was an ongoing problem. And Nate's dad is kind of a shitty person and covering up all of these accidents at his ski resort and not, you know, paying out the people who were hurt at his ski resort as a result of his negligence. His negligence that was tied to him having affairs, not doing his job, not paying attention. Maybe Aaron or even someone he loves was affected by it and now he has it out for Nathan. Anastasia starting to spend more time with Nathan would cause a deterioration in Aaron and Anastasia's relationship, and Aaron can start trying to manipulate Anastasia and the college to get back at Nathan. I'd also like to see Anastasia and Nate being practice partners way earlier in the story and have it matter more. It was like this much of the book. Nate barely played hockey because he got in trouble for Aaron being hurt, which he had nothing to do with. And I felt like I expected the sports aspect to matter more. Even Anastasia's love of ice hockey, what? Nope, that didn't happen. Anastasia's love of ice skating didn't really come through. I wish we'd had to explain more, like, why is this her specific type of self-expression? How does she feel on the ice? Why this sport? Does it have to do with the precision and control needed for this sport? And she's, you know, a very control-oriented person. And that's another thing, is her being a control-oriented person, or at least that's how she's presented to us in the beginning, needing to have that schedule and meal plan and be rigid and be a so-called commitment phobe because she can't take on anything else right now, only to meet Nate and not even question how much control he has over her life. Everything's like up in the air, and she's just like letting him walk all over her boundaries. I do not understand how a person could be in therapy for years and not see this, and definitely not bring it up to their therapist. She let Aaron control so much as well, and no one called this out. then Nate takes control and it's fine when he does it, but not Aaron, because Aaron bad. Control is control. It would have made sense if she had examined this and said, why am I giving men control over me? Am I tired? Am I feeling too much weight upon myself? Is this a healthy way to achieve release? Maybe only have her wanting to experience like domination in a sexual role. That's pretty normal for a person who wants to feel that kind of catharsis, and it would have made way more sense for who Anastasia is, because she does use sex as a form of release, even if she's not like emotionally tied to the person in a romantic way like she was with Ryan. I'd really like Nate to evaluate why he feels the need to control Anastasia and have him realize she's a fully capable adult human. And just because he gets parentified by, being in charge of everybody on the hockey team does not mean he has to extend that to his romantic relationship. Though this is the first time he's entering a adult relationship, that's just not how adult relationships work. And if we were to do my idea with Aaron, have him try to grapple with the idea of where he comes from matters. His dad's decisions affect more than just himself and his sister. Let's really lean into how decisions our families makes and mistakes that our families make can come back to haunt us. Maybe connect his issues with his dad to why he feels the need to take charge with everybody, even when it's to an unhealthy degree. Have him and Anastasia grow and change throughout the story into better versions of themselves. Instead, they're just having a baby and getting married. What a disappointment. So that is my review of Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I really did not like this. I really didn't like it. And I thought I might, because people whose reviews that I typically have the same taste as did like it, but we all go into books and experience, we take who we are into every book that we read, and so we're all going to experience it differently. So my experience with this book was not great. Maybe yours was good. I'm happy for you. If this is your favorite book, good for you. I'm just glad you're reading. Personally, I no longer trust Hannah Grace to write men. I don't see myself enjoying any man protagonist love interest that she writes if this is how it is, where it's extreme double standards for how men act versus how villainous men act. Again, it's the same problem that I have with Sarah J. Maas in the ACOTAR series. Rhysand controlling, sexy. Tamlin controlling, bad. Again, the superior Icebreaker book is the one by A.L. Graziade. So I highly recommend that one. I, again, will link my review to that down below if you want to watch it. If you made it this far, you can leave a hockey-related emoji down below. Thoughts and comments also go below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye! And before I go, I have to say thank you for being a friend to my Therapy Bells patrons, and those are Alexander, Ashley H., Astra, Astrid, Brittany Bobitney, Call Me Kodiak, Cami, Choco's Trash for Japanese Mysteries and Thrillers, Chris the Horror Therapist, DJ Rocktopus, EK Casey, Ellie, Emerald Dodge, Aaron with 2 E's, Eric, GalaxyBot, Jess, John E, Julie D, K, Kaleno K, Casey McKenzie, Quinn, Lady Kittybug, Lady Chips, Lemon Jelly, Lex, Lily B, Max B, Minby, Mommy Zami, Alice, Panoramic Demon, Peggy Lou, specifically Peggy Lou, I'm a creep who. Peggy, Rain, Reese, SJ, Sadwich Bree, Samar, Scarlet, Shiny, SMK, Spoopy, Steph B, 2 Orbit, Urchin Audrey, White Raven 13, Zorvictia, Chai Guy, and Bibuli Baby Dragon. I think I did it right this time. Thank you all so much for being here. And thank you for being a friend. And before I go, I also have to say thank you for being a friend to my Potato Starch Marxist patrons. Those are Alejandra. Alicia is reading that Ethan book and screaming, "Oh my God, Alicia, I know. It's so good. I know. Althea, Amanda D, Andy, Angelica, Artie the Ninth, Ava, Ballads and Bookends, Beck, Blake Lemon Pants, Blythe Lavender, Bookish Brainrot, Bookish by Jenna, Bree, Kate, Caitlin, Cardinal Ginger, Carlin, Carly, Casper, Kate W, Catherine, Kathy, CJ, Claire Online, Colleen, Corwin, Cosmic, Darius, Danielle, Darren, Desiree Michelle, Dilf Enthusiast, Dorian, Dorothea, Drive-By Thinker, E.T. Cosgrove, Ebby, Emily A, Emma Kingsbane, hell yeah, I know that's a Furyborn reference now and I'm so happy. Aaron, Ezra Moon, Fiona, Francis, Gadarn, Hannah C, Harpy Kiro, Ilianaka, JM Tennant, Jay is on Olympus, Jelly V, Jen Michelle, Genderqueer, Jenny G, Justice Sue, Jill, Jojo Bookish, Juicy Wizard, that's a good one, Kat H, Catherine, Katie, Kaylee, Kayala, Kendra, Kitten, KMTB, Laughing Cat Dog, Lauren G, Lazarus Ray, Library of Scars, Jesus, Lindsay M, Lisa B, Lisa L, LP, Lou Siri, Lustful Octopus, Martin, Maddie, Madison, Man Eating Plant, Marcella, Marquita, Megan, Malara, Mentally Unwell, May, Molly, Never, Nicole G, Nicole R, Nemeska, Nyan Binary, Paige P, Penelope,
Penny Chilling, Foxglove, Pandemonium, Queen Cereal, Rachel B, Reba, Rebecca, Rebecca R, Ronnie, Rosie Thorns, Rowan, Secoria, Saintbringer, Sakialume, Samantha O, Sammy, Sarah H, Sarah the Bear, Sarah Z, Shamed, Shannon, Sean, Sisette, Sophie, Talia, Tiana, Trashcan Teddy, Triple M, Tito Phoenix, and Writer A. Thank you all so much for being here and for being a friend.